welcome tonight, and thank you all very, very much indeed for taking time out to come and be with us. We founded this organization on the back of a passion that we have, like I think most of you in this room, because you wouldn't be here otherwise, for conservation and our wild spaces. We are based in Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, and that is at the epicenter of one of the world's most incredible biospheres. It's home to 4 ecoregions, and it's home to the largest remaining population of African elephants on the planet. So let's zoom in and just have a quick look at Zambesia, which is a pre-colonial term that was used by explorers 300-400 years ago to describe a region that stretches basically across the catchment area of the Zambezi River. Now, as I mentioned, it is home to some very significant wildlife, but also communities that all draw their lifeblood from the Zambezi River. What we find with conservation is people tend to refer to animals, so I'm bringing up animals, but actually if we don't look after the habitat, we can't look after the animals. You'll hear more about our partners, but in some cases, some of our partners pre-COVID were funded 80-90% through tourism. And so when the bottom fell out, we said, well, what can we do? Some of the biggest fights we've seen have been between conservation people who have all the right intentions, but they're trying to hide things from each other. So it gave birth to the idea of an alliance, the Zambesia Conservation Alliance. Broad landscape approach, biting off probably more than we can chew, and recognizing that this is not something just for us, but something for everybody to participate in. When we started in April 2020, we wanted to kind of announce ourselves with a bit of a bang, and we came up with an idea called the Conservation Games. And there's a few people on there that we want to thank who believed in us right from the start and came forward and helped us make that happen. In addition, the 2 names at the top were not so much part of the Conservation Games, but they saw what we were doing and helped us as well. Hugely respected person, some of you may know him, Richard Marsdorp, one of the elders of conservation, one of the people that we respect most in frontline conservation in Africa, part of the Zambezi Society. That's what he has to say. You know, biodiversity is now becoming a term on the same level as global warming. It may even become more important in terms of terms that you hear about. As I mentioned, we don't profess to be the front line, and this is an alliance. It's a grouping of people, and we've broadly categorized this into 3. First is the outreach partners, and they're the most obvious because they're the ones who actually are on the front line. Then we've got strategic partners. And strategic partners can be anyone. It could be one of you sitting here. There's nothing too small or too big about a strategic partner. And then the ZCA facilitators, someone's got to try and bring it all together, and our team falls into that role. So let's go on to the frameworks, get a little bit of a picture about what we're trying to do and achieve, but maybe this graphic helps. We need to amplify what's really happening, find a way to assess what all the common needs are of all these partners doing the work on the front line, represent them clearly and honestly to the support, and then help the support to find its way back to the front line.
What we felt is that there is a need to look from the inside out, rather than be across there in the west or here in Aussie or whatever, and looking in and saying, these guys must be suffering with these problems, this is why there's an issue. You know, we spend our life, the last 30 years, working in the safari industry and benefiting from wildlife. We also decided that although there is an absolute need to continue the stick approach, the anti-poaching work and so on, you can't stop that. It would create a vacuum. There's a need to look at the carrot approach, which is creating value chains. Some of the areas that we're currently active on the ground with some funding, we've won an IUCN grant with the Savannah Conservation Trust, and we're active in the Kazuma Forest area. So we're building this data hub. It's baby steps for now, but we're linking the data that we're collecting, obviously GIS data, data is captured on the ground, multiple different data sources. So doing an MBA class, mainly with African students studying conservation. So new ideas, like that type of idea that we're trying to push forward here. You've got these young, agile minds looking at conservation in a new way.